Hello and welcome to a February 14th edition of Pure Music. I got a treat today. At the end of my last recording, Red, Cream, and Blue, I divulged that my grandfather was a flaming redhead, and I thought of this song that I had written for my grandmother and grandfather called Gladys, which is her name, and DeLynn, which was his name. And it's funny because all of their friends called her Happy Bottom, so they would meet and they'd say, "How you doing, Happy Bottom?" Because I didn't say glad ass, so they'd say Happy Bottom. That was anyway. So the story goes that he was, well, actually not the story. The reality, he was from Star Valley, Wyoming, and she was from Idaho. Her mother was an English teacher, and she had impeccable English, which was kind of a rarity in the West at that time. So they would get together and they loved dancing, and they were the best dancers, and they loved to dance together every Friday and Saturday night. And so one day, DeLynn and Gladys were on the front porch, and my great-grandfather said, "Hey, DeLynn, you two are spending so much time together, you ought to just make it official and get married." And they looked at one another, and they loved each other. It was they got along, and they loved one another, and they said, "Sounds good." So they contacted the local authority, and he came over that afternoon and married them right there in the front porch, in his irrigation boots, I might add. And that was the beginning of their marriage. And I think there's something sort of cute and lovely about that against this backdrop of, $50,000, $100,000, $500,000, $1 million weddings. And not to discount that, I think it's wonderful. And I'm sure a lot of brides are just cringing at what happened there. But I think it's not the wedding that counts at all, but the love that two people have for each other. So Gladys and DeLynn stayed married. They had a beautiful family. They had a lot of hardship, and maybe if I'm feeling inspired, I'll tell you a couple of stories about them when this has ended. But Gladys and DeLynn. So this is a song I haven't played in probably 25 years that I wrote for them, and I dedicate this to them. Thank you for on a whim getting married and your great love. It goes like this. She was a belle of Idaho, and he a Wyoming man. On a flowered mountain, that's where love began. Though DeLynn just a pup, he knew the value of marrying up. So they tied the knot, and he grinned that grin to mark the start of Gladys and DeLynn. They had a farm, there was work to be done. 6 daughters later, there still was no son. Gladys, my sweet, what is this curse that all my children carry a purse? But as these daughters all grew up, DeLynn and Gladys had blessed good luck, and their love flourished to the end. Such was the life of Gladys and DeLynn. Such was the love of Gladys and DeLynn. Love you, Grandma and Grandpa. Yeah, what I learned from my grandpa is he had this farm, and the girls, they were very good. But back in the day, they didn't have all the machinery that they do today, so it was really difficult for the girls. But they did. My mom, she could do the chores like anyone, and it made my mom pretty remarkable, and all those sisters pretty remarkable. But rather than just sort of fight that, that idea in his mind that he was going to be a farmer, he, after his sixth daughter was born, and by the way, all their names have like male names that went to girls' names, like George went to Georgia, Lynn went to Linda, Don went to Donna. You get, and it was hilarious. But after the sixth daughter was born, my grandpa, rather than fight it, he just sold some land and bought himself equipment and became a wood craftsman or a carpenter, and did great things. And I remember spending a lot of time with him out at his wood shop as a small boy. But I think that teaches me a lesson, because life doesn't serve up what you have planned. Certainly, I didn't plan to be doing pure music. I wouldn't have done this had I just stayed on the corporate path my entire life. But here I am, and I'm glad I'm doing it, because I'm able to share a precious song about my grandmother and grandpa. They were characters. My grandma especially. Oh my goodness, there were so many stories. One story, they were in the house watching the swarm of bees outside. And if you've ever seen a swarm of bees, a wild swarm of bees, it's phenomenal. And they were both entranced, watching the swarm of bees. And she was standing behind him. She always kind of stood behind him, and they were just transfixed on these bees. And back in the day, all the lights had these little on-off strings with a little furry thing on the back of them to turn it on and off, and to keep the string weighted. And so he was standing there, so she saw the string, and so she put it down. She put that that little furry thing down on his neck, and and he just went crazy. And they laughed and laughed and laughed, but they were kidders, and there were 100 stories like that. She was a kidder, and I love them so much. Anyway, I hope that that you write a poem or a song or something to commemorate the great loves in your life, because that's a great way or a great use of pure music. All right, I'll let you get back to your day. Thanks for spending a little time with me. Bye.